The Xbox's launch in November 2001 was met with critical praise, if not the same level of worldwide sales as the ubiquitous PlayStation 2. A driving force behind the system's success was the wide selection of exclusive titles released alongside the system. Several of these games went on to become successes in their own right, such as Dead or Alive 3, Fusion Frenzy, and Project Gotham Racing. However, the game that was by far the most influential to the console's success was Halo Combat Evolved. While development on Halo had started as early as 1997, it only started to become recognizable in 1998 when the game pivoted away from a real-time strategy game into a third-person shooter. At this point, the intent was to release the game on Windows and Mac OS platforms simultaneously sometime in 2001, and the game was first revealed to the public at Macworld in 1999. However, circumstances prevented these plans from taking place. At this time, developers Bungie were by no means a large studio, and were financially reeling from an $800,000 recall of their highly anticipated RTS Myth 2 Soulblighter the previous winter. Facing a total financial collapse, the company sold a stake to Take-Two Interactive, but this still failed to completely resolve things. However, Bungie's fortunes would soon change after a meeting with Microsoft Game Studios in early 2000. A deal was quickly worked out wherein Microsoft would acquire the studio to work on games for their upcoming entry into the console market, namely with Halo. For their part, Take-Two would receive complete control of Bungie's existing Myth and Oni properties in exchange for selling their stake in the company. Despite this acquisition relieving Bungie's financial woes, they were now facing a different sort of pressure, with a hard deadline having been set for Halo to ship alongside the Xbox as a launch title. As a result of this, development on the title shifted into overdrive, with all other projects being shelved and their staff being put behind Halo. Even with all of this, a large amount of content had to be cut from the final game, with a planned open-world level design turning into a more linear series of maps, as well as several enemies and other features being completely shelved. However, one of the biggest changes during this time period was the game's shift from a third-person to a first-person shooter, intended to increase the player's level of immersion. Despite the tumultuous development, the game had reached completion just in time to ship alongside the Xbox console in November of 2001. While today, Halo is still held in high regard as one of the greatest FPS titles ever made, I still have a few gripes with the game. One issue I have revolves around the left trigger. While this is used for throwing grenades, it feels extremely sensitive to me. You could be gripping the controller tightly while locked into combat and unconsciously pull the trigger less than a tenth of the way back, but guess what? You've just wasted a grenade. What baffles me about this is that the right trigger, used to fire your weapon, feels far less sensitive, so I don't understand why they didn't just make it the same for both triggers. While on the topic of weapons, the gunplay itself is one of Halo's strongest features. Both the human UNSC Marines and the Alien Covenant have their own sets of weapons, which not only all feel highly distinct from one another, but are also highly effective in different circumstances and satisfying to use. While human weapons are all fairly conventional in design, the Covenant use energy weapons that are more effective against shields, but slightly less against standard enemies. As you'll eventually run out of ammunition for your favorite weapons if you aren't efficient with your shots, the game incentivizes trying out all sorts of different types of weapons throughout the campaign as well as the multiplayer. The multiplayer of Halo was one of the game's most well-received features at launch, allowing not only 4-player split-screen battles to take place, but up to 16 players on 4 consoles to duke it out through the magic of LAN networking. While I wasn't able to get anyone to play Combat for Atari, I am happy to say that I managed to coax someone into playing Halo multiplayer with me today. Oh yeah, the campaign was also supposedly really good. I should check that out.